Alright, Tommy Rat here. This time I got a New York Hardcore rant for tonight. Alright? We are on the verge. Today is my 63rd birthday. Alright, I'll accept gifts from everybody. Just check there's ways to do that if you go in the description box below the video. I'll accept gifts any day of the week. So, please send them my way. Alright, so here's some things I'm just going to bring up that are on my mind right now, so I figured I'd do a video about them. Now, recently, I've been added to the Hardcore Legends trading cards page on Instagram. Oh, right, the chair is loose here, man. Shit. Alright. I'm looking at it right now. Let's see. Yeah, they use a Trip 6. They use a Trip 6 song for this one right here. I mean, they don't more highly of Trip 6 than I did. I'll be honest with you about that. Alright, now on the back of the card it says bands I performed with. Verbal Assault. Actually, it was called Verbal Response. Verbal Response. That's the name that never went anywhere. It was a name that we never even played a show under that name. I don't think. Rat Poison Band. That was a running joke. Okay. Verbal Assault, Verbal Response, what we call it, Rat Poison Band, Warzone, we're all the same fucking band. So, it was all the same fucking band. The band didn't really start till Rabies got involved with it. Just Us was a project that never got off the ground. I think at times it was just, it was like me and a friend of mine named Larry Heartless, whatever we want to call himself. Played guitar. We had a lot of people that came and went in that band. Just went nowhere after 1 year. So it was just one of those things that never materialized. I mean, it happened after Warzone and after Trip 6, but it never happened. And then I joined the Psychos. That didn't last too long, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. And then I had Rejuvenate. That was like actually, Trip 6 came after the Psychos, but, to me, I don't think a lot of people didn't really, because Stu was using Psycho songs for Trip 6, but nobody was buying into that shit. But then we did Rejuvenate. Might have been one different direction if Stu remained, and if Stu was able to keep his shit together and stay in the band. But I mean, we just fucking kept that shit. We just was too. Alright, alright. That was, I kept that band together under a lot of persistence. I was, very persistent about doing what I wanted to do with that band. We got on some good shows, very persistent. Matt, we managed to tour Europe, but it wasn't. That's another story into itself. Maybe talk about that in a future video. And that one, I did a one shot. I did a one shot with AF for the Big Charlie Memorial, and they had me listed as singer for This Means War. That was like the last that was the second to last band I was in. Then we reformed Rejuvenate again. Then that was it. All right, so I gotta commend this kid, who did the trading card thing. I mean, really, he put a lot of people in there. I'll tell you that. Okay, now what else I was going to get? All right. Now, the Punk 23 page posted something about Ian MacKaye and Henry Rollins doing something together. But it turned out, a lot of people thought it was like some kind that they were going to record together, but it involved some historical tape of some band from 1979, and that they were mixing it, and there was like nothing wrong with the tape. I don't know what band this is, but I think they were just involved with the mixing. From what I'm hearing, they are not performing on there. So that was a thing that a lot of people got excited about. But then he posted somewhere that he was not on, that he's not performing on the tape. Him and Ian are not on the tape. So I don't know, whatever it is. Let's find out what this is, and see what's what is conjured from this from this venture for shitting on it. Now what was it? Now John Joseph recently posted some article that was quoted by Henry Rollins. Let's see. We'll look for that. I think it was on his Facebook. I'm not trying to make a living out of everything that John Joseph or anybody else says, but you know what? I just need I need something to talk about on this channel. Now, I caught this over here, like Henry Rollins was quoting something. Whenever Black Flag played in New York in the 80s, I was usually apprehensive. I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I did not like the, quote, New York hardcore scene. I don't own any of those records. It all seemed very aggressive, like it had something to prove, and I think it's because that scene had a hard time initially getting out from under the shadow of the original scene with CBGB's and Max's Kansas City. It seemed to me that New York hardcore had mutated from a very arty scene bent on early rock and roll to something that was trying to be a hybrid of the Ramones and the Bad Brains. Everything was macho. Everything had to be a tough guy. Being in Black Flag, I think I resent it because we had experienced aggression and violence in Southern California. I remember that most people in the DC scene hated New York hardcore. I think that brand of the music was when the high school jock had found punk rock. It was like the fuck yeah guy suddenly found a guitar. The guy that would call you bro and keep score on how many ladies he could get that week. The guys in gym class who would beat up nerds and weirdos. The true audience for punk rock suddenly became punks themselves. I never liked those bands or their mentality. That's something that Henry Rollins said in 2016 in a conversation with John Doe. Alright, well, here's my 2 cents on that. A lot of those bands were not, back then, you had bands like The Undead, Heart Attack, even worse. who else was there at that time? Then you had the Simulators, the Mad. I don't think any of them guys fit the label as being a jock or anything like that. I don't know about that. So I mean, he's looking at that from a different perspective. I think around the time that when Black Flag first played the Peppermint Lounge and the DC Punks, DC Skinheads, Skins, Punk Skins, whatever you want to call them, the DC crew came up. I mean, over there, at that time, the people that were a lot of people that were frequently going to places like the Peppermint Lounge and Danceteria were people that were still on the new wave tip. They went there to get drunk, no matter who was on the bill. Yeah. Supposedly, from what I read somewhere, that they were giving them shit. That they were giving the DC crew shit for being different. And they thought that those people actually represented what the New York punk or forthcoming hardcore scene was coming about. But that wasn't But I think a lot of us back then were punk rock. A lot of us back then were punk rockers getting out of the pogo thing and adopting to the slam dancing, which was like the first time we saw any of that at Black Flag show. That was the first time we saw slam dancing, stage diving and shit like that. Yeah, this guy I ran with at the time, Joe, from Brooklyn. He was like, he wanted to get into that. He wanted to get into that shit. He got into that shit quick. And I jumped on board that too. All right, I did. Yeah, I jumped on board that. I might not have been the best dancer, but then again, you know what? I didn't give a fuck. I was out there to have fun. We never targeted nobody. That's one thing, and then one thing I understood, like back then, you're on the floor, you're responsible for your own actions. But then, just don't take shit personal when you're out there. However, I did find that back in '81, after Black Flag got Henry as a singer, he was quoted in Big Takeover from somewhere that he didn't like New York hardcore, even back then. So, hey, each their own. You don't have to like it. Don't have to like it. Hey, anybody can like whatever they want. That's their prerogative. Just don't be a dick with me about it, or any of my friends. Only bands that I think the only bands that would open up. I remember like after that, like a lot of the bands that would tour with Black Flag were bands like Saccharine Trust, Nick Heist, or the Descendants. Those were the bands that used to run with them back then. Alright, so, okay, now on December 27th at the Brass Mug, there's going to be a Blue Collar benefit being held at Brass Mug in Tampa, Florida. My friend Ed Bragowski, who used to be in the band Bricklayer, he's promoting the show. I'm not sure what bands are going to be on this bill, but I don't have the full details of this yet, so as soon as I get them, I will divulge them on my channel. You know. So help Lou out. Help Lou call out any way you can. I mean, like the hardcore music scene does not seem to come with health benefits. I hate to say, they don't come with health benefits, and I mean, it's a tough thing to talk about, but help Lou out any way you can. Yeah. Okay, so this is the end. This is the end of my rant. I want to thank the people who watch my videos. New subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Smash that like button, comment, and share the shit out of this video. And thank you again for watching.